The structure of the game industry is always moving and always complex, but there are a couple different elements that typically stay the same. The first element of the game industry is the platform. There are multiple platforms, as you all know. There are mobile platforms, there are internet platforms, there are Facebook is a platform. You've also got Xbox, you've got PlayStation, you've got anything you can really think of. All of those are platforms, and each platform is owned by a company like Microsoft or whatnot. And that's the first major game player. There are a lot of different motivations for why you want to have games on your platform. For iPhones, they're moving more iPhones, but they're not necessarily looking for the biggest gameplay experience ever. So a lot of their technical requirements are based off of what their phone needs to do, not necessarily what games need to do. Although, as you can see, markets get also driven by the products that are getting purchased. So a lot of times game apps are actually driving the market to make better processors, better graphics cards on your mobile phone. And then you have companies like Xbox and PlayStation, which created a gameplay platform that's on the television, and those have different kinds of strategies. But in every case, what you have is the gatekeeper. The gatekeeper is going to be the person who stops you from putting a game on a platform. So on an internet platform, you might not have any gatekeepers beyond the Comcast or Cox or DSL or whomever you have. While on Xbox, you might have multiple gatekeepers, including the people who run Xbox, but also, Microsoft itself, which has different strategies and all that kind of, etc. The second kind of company in the games industry is a publisher. A publisher's main job is to pay for a game, to market it, and to get a game on shelves. Now, in the world of online distribution, a publisher's role is changing dramatically, but there are still a lot of elements that a publisher needs to do that most companies can't. For instance, they bankroll projects. The other thing a publisher tends to do is buy franchises. This might be franchises from movies, books. One of my favorite games is a game called Ninja Town, and that game was actually based off of a set of plushie lines. So there are a lot of different avenues for where those things come from. But a publisher is in the job of making money, and they're interested in buying franchises. And the way that agreement works for a franchise is someone who writes a book, for instance, may not have the technical expertise to make a game. Now, the publisher knows people who have technical expertise, so they purchase the franchise from the book author and then give that game to a developer. And the developer is the third type of company. Some developers are internal to a publisher, and some are external to a publisher, but the basic idea is the developer is where the work gets done. It's the place where I worked for many years, and you will probably work too if you enter this industry. Now, as I said, you can have a company that's internal or external to a publisher, and a publisher is going to have a certain amount of staff on hand for game development. But what the publisher wants to do in their business strategy is make sure that they never are paying money that they aren't working on a product for. So they will typically have fewer teams than they need. But what happens when they have more projects than they can work on is they go to outside companies like Kryptonite Games or Vicarious Visions before they were purchased by Activision. Now, as a developer, you're not necessarily working on franchise titles. It's up to each developer to figure out what their revenue model is going to be. So, for instance, you could be an indie game developer, and you could just create games on your own, and you can publish them on your own, and then you can make money based off of whatever deals you can make. Or you could decide, I want to make a game, but I know it's going to cost $10 million to do, or it needs this franchise, or something like that. And you're going to want to pitch that game to a publisher using a pitch document that you'll also see in this class, as well as prototyping a gameplay out and things like that. Now, obviously, that's a really hard sell, and not a lot of people can do it very well or very consistently. Even the people with big names get projects canceled on them all the time.